I've been keeping myself so busy, pushing out the misery, trying to find the peace in me. I wanna be, I wanna find myself, but again, it's always a phase. I wanted to stay, no you don't understand. I've been losing myself, I've been losing myself.
Okay, just getting ready to set up this pregnant cell battery and hook it up to the inverter only. This is the battery that I built earlier. I'm going to do a video on installing this in the camper itself. I'm just in the process of doing that. That'll be a separate video. As you can see, I've had to shave this off just to fit it in, but it does fit in there. I'm in the process of making these brackets work so that it doesn't go up and down and doesn't go side to side, and blocking off the holes from the original bracketry for the 100 amp hour lithiums. So yeah, just going to run some nice fat cable up to the inverter and we'll do some discharge testing, eh? Alright, here we go. Got everything wired up, ready to go. The other lithium batteries inside the camper are looking after the rest of the electrics. It's just the inverter cables that I've pulled out. Now, I reckon this is going to be the hot spot. I did bring this out to check temperature, and let's see if we can ruin that BMS. So I'm not too worried about my BMS in that battery being the same as that one, because I don't expect it to be working anywhere near as hard, being that it's going to be in parallel with 3 other batteries. So yeah, the max discharge it'll probably push out is like 100 amps. I'm not even worried about it, to be honest. So yeah, here we go. We're going to have a look and synchronize 100% and see what these pregnant cells can do. There we go. Now if we need any more power drain, I will grab the heater, but I really doubt we're going to need any more than the heat gun and a toaster to do the testing. I'm just grabbing my fire extinguisher now, just in case, and we'll be ready to rumble. Righty, fire extinguisher ready. There we go. Toaster on. Voltage isn't sagging too badly. Let's go check and see what it's at now. Check for hot connections. All stone cold at the moment. I was thinking this one was going to get hot, but it's nowhere near it. It's 60 amps. Still 60 amps. Not hot. Not hot. What about these ones? No. Doing good. We'll do that for a little bit. Nothing's happening with the cells. They can't get any more pregnant. 192 amps. We'll leave it at that for a bit. Fair bit of voltage sag there. 12.2. Inverter doesn't sound too happy. I think it's because the voltage sag is quite a bit. Whoa. Feel that actually vibrating. Nothing's hot yet. The cables are vibrating there. Literally. Wow. Toaster stopped. Oh, panicked for a second there. toaster cutout. I think we might just leave it at that for a little bit. That inverter does not sound happy. 120 amps. It is so weird. I can feel it vibrating. I don't endorse doing this sort of connection. It's obviously very dodgy. Nothing's warm yet. So weird. Even the BMS is fine. Let's have a look. Nothing hot. No. Might ramp it up quickly. Give it all it's got, for a little bit. 2. Oh, 180 amps. Still doing it. I'm not gonna lie, I'm quite nervous right now. I really don't want to go over the 200 mark, not with those cells. Quite scary. Especially with that bus bar vibrating the way it is. I think I'm going to turn it back down to 120. Back to 120. Alright, I'm going to monitor this off camera and see if it, see what it pulls, see how many amp hours it pulls. It's doing quite well, surprisingly. Alrighty, so far the only thing getting warm is the BMS, and that's just a touch really. You can't really, trying to get the MOSFETs there. Alright, we're going to try and see if we can overload the BMS. 340, 350 amps, 360, should cut off soon. Should be 11.4 volts, and that's the inverter is what's cutting out. That's disappointing. The BMS didn't cut out, but amazingly, I just turned the heater down a little bit. Amazingly, still doing it out of those cells. Yeah, the inverter's much happier running the fan at full speed. Getting warm in there. What the hell? Barely even warm now. Must have figured out its own current path. That's not bad at all. Everything else is stone cold. It's just the BMS that's getting warm. It's quite happy, pulling 180 amps. It's very impressive. Voltage sag isn't that bad. Should be a quick test though. Swapped over to the heater. They draw the same amount. And the heater's nowhere near as noisy as the heat gun, so I'll leave that running. So yeah, at 190 amps, I really well and truly think these cables that come off the BMS, they're hot to touch. Not stupidly hot, but they're only just keeping up. So I dare say that BMS, even though it says 300 amps, I wouldn't put 300 amps through it safely, especially when it keeps on going when you don't want it to. You want the BMS to cut out first, not the inverter. And as you've seen, it was up well and truly over 300 amps before. Yeah, probably maximum I would push through that BMS is 250 amps, and even then that's really pushing it, but very impressive for a cheap Chinese BMS. And these cells, like, hands down, that's really impressive that they're still pushing this sort of current. It'd be interesting to see how many amp hours actually come out of them at this high discharge rate. Running at 187 amps right now. So yeah, they'll come back when they're dead, I suppose. Nothing else is happening. I'm quite happy with that. Alrighty guys, let me know in the comments how many amp hours do you reckon they're at after this high discharge rating. I'm gonna say 220, maybe. Oh, maybe that's a bit generous. Maybe 180. I don't know. Let me know in the comments, guys. I can no longer touch the BMS. It's at 71 degrees. Feel a little bit more than room temperature. Feel about the same as body heat, I suppose. Let's have a look. I'm not too sure how accurate this is, but the BMS is roasting. No wonder the Dallies have fans on them, hey? Makes sense, that's for sure. But hey, I'm happy with the BMS in that battery because it's not going to have to work anywhere near as hard as this one. It'll be plenty for what I need it for. Inverter, sustained 11.8 volts. It's not going to low voltage disconnect yet. Trying to speed this test up. Wow. I don't really want to stand too close to it. I might grab the fire extinguisher just in case. 3,230 watts. And that's cranking it. 11.8 volts. Inverter still hasn't turned off. A little bit worried about that BMS melting through the... Oh, inverter turned off. Well, I was wrong. Oh, it's not coming on. BMS has shut itself off for once. Wonder if it had thermal disconnect. That'd be good if it did. Currently trying to wake the BMS up again, but yeah, I don't think I've got anything at the moment. I think I might grab the multimeter. See what these cells are actually at. As you can see, it's drastically dropping off. Well, that's not good. I think the BMS died. The cells are still sitting at 13.1. As you can see, can't get the Victron to turn back on. I've got to try and figure out how to get this BMS to wake back up. Okay, we got it back, but it's saying our deepest discharge is 89 amp hours, which is obviously what we were pulling before. We're back at 13.19, and obviously the shunt has reset itself. So I'm gonna have to figure out a way to continue the test. Got the BMS going back again, but Might have to add whatever discharge I get out of it now to the deepest discharge. 138 amp hour. We'll see what we can get, eh? Oh, that's alright, we can keep going. It's just going to be the percentage on the battery that's well and truly off. At least we can see the cumulative amp hours drawn. I'm going to keep it with the heater on at the moment. I have a suspicion that the thermal disconnect happened and it wouldn't wake up until it cooled down, because I was trying to wake it up with this dodgy battery that I did the last video on. I was trying to wake the BMS back up and it wouldn't come back on, and then check the temperature, it was still up around 75 degrees, so yeah, it's back on now. We'll still be able to check cumulative amp hours drawn. That's lucky it kept that in the saving, so oh well, continue the test. That BMS seems to be quite happy at 185 amps. So yeah, as I was saying before, I wouldn't push it any further than that, to be honest. Sun's starting to go down, hopefully it dies soon, but the voltage isn't really sagging too much, as you can see, 12.2. I reckon it might pull the 252 amp hours again. I'm quite optimistic, but even at that high discharge rate, I think they're quite happy. As long as you don't go much further over that, they're happy to do it. Very surprising. We cracked 200 amp hours, guys. Battery voltage is not too bad. Impressive. Ignore that percentage, it's obviously wrong. Very impressive. Okay, current is going up obviously as the voltage goes down. We're at 251 amp hours. Now the only way this makes sense is when I did the last discharge with the light bar and H4 globes, I topped them up, top balanced them again, and that was it. That's all they could take. But when I completely discharged them, they pulled 252 amp hours. But for some reason, when I charged them back up again, they took more current. So it's like I exercised the cells a little bit and somehow they took a little bit more current. I don't know how that is possible, but for some reason I think they're going to pull more current this time, more amp hours, which is exciting. I never expected that, and they've been pulling the solid 180, 190 amps, no worries, running that heater flat stick the whole time. It's very impressive for completely pregnant cells, and as I was saying before, they're only warm, they're just a little bit more above room temperature. It's the BMS that's gotten quite hot, but it's averaged out at about 65 degrees now, so yeah. Let's see what we get to, hey? I don't know, guys. Can anyone explain this to me? 268 amp hours? Are these cells gonna pull the full 280? I don't know. We're looking at it. Yep, 11.76. No way. We're nearly at 270 amp hours. This is bonkers. Nope, we're out. We're out. Wow. I'm gonna see if I can wake that BMS up again, but if I can't, and it's just thermal overheating, I'm gonna see if I can wake it up. Let's see. Yeah, that BMS is cooking. 74 degrees. That's hot. Just tried to wake it up. with a cheap battery. Must be a thermal disconnect, I think. Still quite hot. Yeah, I don't think it woke the BMS up at all by the looks of that. I think it's just the BMS at the moment. I'm just going to wait for it to cool down. And yeah, as you can see, it's not coming back on. So we'll just wait a little bit, see if we can pull a little bit more out of it. I'm shocked. I don't know about you guys, but I'm absolutely shocked. That is extremely impressive. Hey, it's definitely some sort of thermal disconnect because I heard a little tick just before and we got voltage again. So I'm going to turn that inverter back on and keep the test rolling. Alright, I'm going to keep the BMS nice and cool and keep going at 88 amps. Obviously the shunt reset again, but I'll be able to check when I edit exactly how much has come out of it. So I'll go through when I'm editing and add it all together and figure out exactly just how much has come out of the battery, because now it's only showing 239 amp hours, which I'm still extremely impressed with. These batteries are phenomenal. Gave them extra capacity. Nah. That's insane. Alright. The voltage is quickly tapering off. And we are at 263 amp hours. I don't get it. I don't understand how it's done that. Here we go, low voltage guys. We are cutting out. 263 amp hours. 264. It's dying. It's not dead yet. I'll try and just turn it on to fan now. It's only drawing 4.2 amps now. See if we can get it a little bit more. Still going. Turn the heater back on. $264. Come on. 265. Yeah, we're going to cut out now, I reckon. Yep. We're cutting out. We are out of juice. 265 amp hours. 100 amps still going. 265. Sorry about all the beeping. 266. Man, that's impressive. And we're gone. 266. Yep. BMS cut out. She's gone. Man, that's impressive. Now I'm going to try and wake up the BMS and get it to charge the battery back up via the inverter at 75 amps. Should do it quite easily and quickly. Yep, no worries. Charging up quite quickly. Clear the history and do this test again with the light bar and see how it goes. Alright, so I topped the battery back up again. We're going to try this test again just because the high discharge rate and turning the BMS on and off a few times, through the Victron shunt out a bit, I think. So we're going to do this again and see what it pulls up. Keep in mind, on my first video on this pregnant cell battery, we got 252 amp hours. Trying to hurry this thing along. Nearly 10 hours. Finally, just die already. 11:53. Hurry up. We're gone. That's it. So there is cell deviation. 3.23. This is on charge at the moment. 3.258. 3.207. 3.212. But the cell deviation really isn't that bad for cells this demented. Like, they really are demented. Looks like maybe that was there already. Starting to wonder if it cracked a bit more or something, but it looks like it actually is a scratch. Might have happened when I was putting them in. I don't know about you guys, but that's thoroughly impressing. Even for this dummy bus bar here, it worked fine. It was vibrating for a little while there, but I think it's welded itself together. Yeah, let me know what you think in the comments, guys.
I've been keeping myself so busy, pushing out the misery, trying